If you're making money selling natural gas, you're going to make less money. And you may get upset about that. And you may try to fight me. That's okay. I can handle upfront competition. I can also tell you that I've come up with an awful lot of stories and a lot of examples. Environmental groups, with air quotes, are getting donations or sponsored by fossil fuel companies to market against their competitors. Some people say, it's impossible. Why would an oil company pay an environmental group that also fights oil? The best way to increase the price of anything is to reduce the supply. And so even when the environmental groups are fighting against Arctic oil drilling or a new pipeline here or whatever, they are working to lower the supply of energy, which drives up the price for those existing producers which are already producing. And if you're selling a commodity, you'd much rather sell a high-priced commodity than sell a low-priced commodity, particularly if your volume, not necessarily volume, but if your own personal volume doesn't change. You're already selling as much as you can produce every day. Sell it for $100 a barrel than $50 a barrel. That's that's what companies like ExxonMobil do. They sell every drop they can produce. They may as well sell it at a high price.
There's some companies that just produce energy. They're not out to exploit new resources.
The producers do some exploration. I mean, ExxonMobil maybe has a $12 or $15 billion a year capital program to keep their production levels roughly equal. They haven't really increased their capacity to produce, but they have to keep exploring just to keep their capacity constant, because every year their existing wells deplete a little bit. They get less and less production out. So they have to keep exploring. But they're not trying to grow their ability. They're not trying to take new markets. They're simply, in the business of supplying the market that they already consider to be theirs. They get really threatened, though, if somebody else comes in and starts whacking away at their market share and says, hey, you don't need to buy gas. We're going to build this, we've just brought this new nuclear plant online, which reduces the demand for gas by, a big nuclear plant, 1,000 megawatts. It takes about 180 million cubic feet of natural gas per day to produce 1,000 megawatts. Okay, so a single site like the Indian Point facility in New York reduces demand for gas by about 360 to 400 million cubic feet a day. That's a huge chunk of sales. Selling the competitive source for the Indian Point reactor bring in revenue close to $1 billion a year to the gas industry, which is why the Indian Point reactor is under so much political pressure by gas-supported politicians to be shut down when it reaches its 40-year relicensing time. The plant's been well-maintained. There's no reason to shut it down. It's safe. It's clean. But some politicians who've been receiving contributions from gas companies want to shut it down. They're perfectly happy with replacing the output by burning gas, which increases the pollution, the price of electricity, but it does provide revenue to their friends. The petrochemical industry, the hydrocarbon industry, spends an awful lot of money advertising. They believe in wind and the sun, and Exxon is talking about growing algae, all kinds of alternatives. You'll never hear a hydrocarbon company talking about nuclear. You'll see an awful lot of stories, somebody in the gas or oil industry working against nuclear and trying to raise the barriers of entry. That's a simulated nuclear fuel pellet. It's as much energy as a ton of coal, 147 gallons of oil, or 17,000 cubic feet of natural gas. How can the hydrocarbon industry allow that to be used effectively on the marketplace? If you're making money selling hydrocarbons, you're going to make less money.